Hαίrete, friends. Welcome to Classics in Color, your weekly dive into some of the ancient world's wackiest facts. I'm Mark Graves, and today we're going to be talking about ancient Rome's annual celebration of its own birth. This holiday was celebrated every year on April 21st, and like all holidays, it changed and evolved quite a bit over time. So originally it was called the Perilia, but in the 2nd century AD, the Emperor Hadrian actually renamed it the Romaya. The earliest origins of this holiday are very obscure. We have some myths and some symbolism that later Romans preserved to kind of clue us in a little bit, but there's a lot that we don't know. It seems like originally this was a festival held by Italian shepherds every year before the city of Rome was ever even actually founded. So there would have just been shepherds in the area in spring celebrating, purifying, revivifying their herds of sheep and cattle. They were sacrificing and worshiping a god named Pales, who's very mysterious. We know very little about them. I'm not even sure that I'm pronouncing the name correctly. We don't even know the gender of this deity, but it seems like it was a very old, very Italian god, maybe even pre any Greek influence. So they were worshiping and sacrificing to this god as part of this festival for purifying herds, so maybe this god had some association with fertility and flocks. At some point, this guy, Romulus, came along and decided that he wanted to found a city in this very rural community. And apparently he picked this already well-known, well-loved festival, Perilia. He picked that day to formally found his city. So according to the legends, he got out a plow and basically plowed or drew out the outline in the ground of the formal sacred boundary of the city that he was going to build. And this boundary continued to be symbolically very important for the Romans for centuries to come. So forever afterwards, when the Romans and then the Italians were celebrating this festival of Perilia, it wasn't just about flocks anymore, it was also about the formal birthday and creation of the city of Rome. Centuries later, the Roman author Ovid wrote a poem describing his experience participating in this festival and this holiday. And Ovid is very much an urbanite living in downtown Rome, which at this point is bursting at the seams. There's hundreds of thousands of people, but all of the symbolism of this holiday is still very much rural. I have often myself borne along with loaded hands the ashes of the calf and the bean stalks, the sacred materials of purification. To be sure, I have myself leapt over the fires arranged 3 in a row, and the moist laurel has sprinkled its drops of water over me. It continues even now on your birthday, Rome. So you can see we've got purification, we've got beanstalks, we've got calves, all very rural symbols. The bit about jumping over fires is a bit more mysterious, and it was mysterious to Ovid and his contemporaries as well. They actually weren't sure why that was a part of this whole celebration. So Ovid gives us a list of several different possible explanations, and he's not sure which of them is the correct one. He says maybe we have fires because fires are purifying, and so that would have been, part of the whole purification process. Another theory that he really likes is that when Romulus founded this new city, he sent out the call to all of the local rural people living in the area to come move into this new city with him. And these new people, to show their dedication to this new city and identity and project, burned down their old homes and then jumped over the flames of their houses that were burning down before moving into this new city. So maybe jumping over fires is a way to sort of show your rededication to this project of Rome. Like I said, all holidays evolve and change over time. They're subject to all kinds of social and political pressures. So not only does the Perilia evolve from this very small little local festival to being the celebration of this entire empire, but it continues to change as Rome itself changes. So as Rome gets bigger, more powerful, more wealthy, its people get more and more enamored with its games. So whether that's athletic games and contests or gladiatorial games and contests, they just become more and more of an expectation of Rome's people, and Rome's elites are expected to sponsor these ever more bigger and elaborate games. In about 45 BC, Julius Caesar is king of playing this game of popularity, but he's also embroiled in these very vicious civil wars. In 45 BC, he wins this big victory, the Battle of Munda, and this happens right before the festival of Perilia. So he sponsors these big games to basically say, hey, I'm on Team Rome, right? I'm not the usurper. I'm not trying to destroy Rome's traditions and holidays. I'm absolutely, on board, in lockstep with you, true Romans, and I want to honor and return to Rome's foundations, basically. Make Rome great again is the sort of sentiment. And ever after that, the Perilia is associated with games. As time goes on, Rome shifts from having a republic to having emperors. These emperors continue to pull Julius Caesar's move, essentially, of using the Perilia as yet another occasion to sponsor really elaborate and wonderful and entertaining games, and just have lots of pageantry to show off the glory of Rome, but also the glory of themselves. So over time, the Perilia moves further and further away from its small town rural origins and becomes more and more about celebrating Rome and Rome's glory. And presumably that's a big part of why in the 2nd century AD, the Emperor Hadrian just renames it to the Romia. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Special thank you as always to subscribers and to Patreon members, and I hope to see all of you again next week. Χαίρετε.